Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to Week 17 of our digital show. I'm Jay Pushkar alongside Kent Urbanski and Mike Fenner. Gentlemen, first of all, Happy New Year to both of you. What a season it has been covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Kent, Christmas Eve, you were down at Acrisure Stadium. What an emotional night in honoring and retiring the number of Franco Harris. What did that night mean to you, and what was it like to be in the stadium?
Well, I mean, there was a strange aura as soon as I, even just pulling into the parking lot down there with the chill, as cold as it was, and just the quietness of it all. You know I got down there a little early, but it didn't seem like it had, the energy that a normal game does when people are out tailgating and stuff. It was kind of reserved, and there was a solemnness in the air with Franco passing and them retiring his number at halftime. So, and then just throw that bone-chilling cold into the atmosphere just made it all that much more difficult or of a situation to be in.
And how fitting was it for them to make that final drive, almost eerily similar to finding a way to win 50 years ago? They were able to do it on Christmas night.
Yeah, very similar, almost the same score that it was back in '72 when the big play, the Immaculate Reception happened, and I think if you look at the statistics, the box score on it, I think when Cam Sutton intercepted the pass, it was on the 32-yard line, wasn't it, to end that game? I think there was a penalty or something that might have switched it, but just the irony of that, or the coincidence of that, was uncanny.
And Mike, what a shot in the arm this is for Pittsburgh. They've now won 5 of their last 7 games coming out of the bye week, and they're playing pretty good football. Not great football, but good enough, and here they are, having a chance to possibly still have a winning season, but even finding themselves back into the postseason.
We always say they're never out of it. This team's never out of it. I mean, the fact that Mike Tomlin does not have a losing season, and they're in a position now, if they take care of business in the AFC North here at Baltimore and home in Cleveland, you can have the winning season, and you might be talking about the playoffs. They're going to need some help. But first things first, you got primetime football on Sunday night being flexed, going to Baltimore, and they've got revenge on the mind. It was a tough loss in Week 14, 16-14 at home. You didn't have Kenny Pickett for much of that game, going out with a concussion. Mitch Trubisky with the 3 interceptions, only lose by 2. I think you got to be pretty confident going into this matchup. They played well enough to be in a position to win that last game. Now, if you can limit those mistakes, you've got 8 back there under center. You got a chance to make this thing interesting in the last couple weeks.
And you were down at practice earlier in the week, and how much are they really embracing this opportunity? Because we heard Patrick Queen saying, really, they're going to flex this game to Sunday night? What are the players now saying, knowing that, hey, if we're out of it, we can still spoil your seeding come postseason?
No doubt, and that's the point that's been made this week is, because that's one of the questions that's come up is, well, what if you guys get knocked out before kickoff? And you're exactly right. Hey, we could still ruin the Ravens' chance of winning the AFC North, because even though Baltimore's a game back of Cincinnati, they have the first game in that matchup head-to-head in hand with the Bengals. So all Baltimore has to do is not be down 2 games going into Week 18, and they could still win the division if they're able to sweep that series with Cincinnati. That could be huge for seeding. Of course, the Ravens are a playoff team already. But yeah, Pittsburgh can play ultimate spoiler even if they're already out by the time Sunday Night Football comes.
And Ken, it's well documented. We always say that, regardless of the records, regardless of who's in what contention, when the Ravens and Steelers get together, it's going to be fireworks.
Well, right. I mean, I don't think, again, I think we talked about this going into the first matchup, that I don't think it has that type of energy that previous seasons did. I just think the player personnel is different, that it doesn't have that type of game atmosphere. But it's still a rivalry game, and it's still on their turf now. But I don't think the Ravens are that good of a 10-5. Are they 10-5 right now, Mike?
They are, yeah.
I don't think they're that good of a football team, and I think
they've had some good fortune this year.
Right.
They've had some really close games.
3 interceptions in the red zone for Pittsburgh in that first matchup, and you get J.K. Dobbins coming off the injured reserve and running for over 200 yards. I don't think that's going to happen in this game. I think Pittsburgh's going to tighten that up. And we still don't know at this point who's playing quarterback for them, right? So it's hard to speculate there. But I like Pittsburgh going down there and winning this game, and especially with I think that this offense is starting to come around a little bit. I would like to see that the game-winning touchdown from Pickett to Pickens. I want to see that in the first, second, and third quarters too. I mean, where was that in the why do you have to wait until the last 50 seconds or 40 seconds of the game to engineer that type of production in the red zone? I think you'll see that here, and I think Pittsburgh will run the ball a little better because they have been running the ball better, and I think they come out of this game with a win.
Do you guys get the sense that their run defense is starting to play a little bit better too? Because after what Baltimore did in that first meeting, they shut down Carolina. They were able to shut down the Raiders. I mean, it seems like that front seven is starting to really get back into clicking the way they need to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Baltimore ran wild in that game.
Over 200 yards.
Over 200 yards, and I think they have trouble throwing the ball downfield as well. So I think, like I said, the Steelers, if they can tighten that up and keep them to under 100 yards rushing, I think that favors the Steelers.
And Mike Cam Hayward named AFC Player of the Week defensively, and of course Robert Spillane quietly putting up solid numbers week in and week out with this defense.
Yeah, 12 tackles against the Raiders for Spillane. He's been just had a knack to get to the football, lines them up the right way and just plays solid fundamental football. We talked about when the run defense was struggling early this year, it was the fundamentals of the form tackling not being there. I think you're starting to see that really improve as the season's gone on, and that's been the biggest difference is these guys are breaking down and making those tackles at the point of attack. And yeah, great for Cam Hayward. He won the award twice in 2017, hadn't won it since then, and getting the AFC Defensive Player of the Week, a huge deal, joining guys like Minka Fitzpatrick, TJ Watt, guys that are so impactful. And a lot of times, Steeler fans know how important Cam Hayward is to the attack, but a lot of people outside the organization sometimes underrate him a little bit or just don't really fully appreciate what he brings in terms of the value. So I think run defense, leadership, everything he brings to the table. A couple sacks against the Raiders, and I think he's a big reason why Derek Carr is not going to be starting quarterback after this
what a
week.
game he had against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Well, guys, lastly, we talked about it in the first matchup, special teams play. The last time these two teams met, punting was an issue for Pittsburgh. There were missed opportunities with field goals and blocked field goal attempts. Could we possibly see another scenario where special teams, they got to come up and deliver too, because Baltimore, they have a great kicker and a future Hall of Famer.
Right, and Chris Boswell cannot go into a game like this when they always play these games tight. You can't miss 2 field goals in key games, key situations like that. So he has to be on in this game in order to give them a chance. Because
at least the temperatures will be a little bit favorable for kickers, though, come Sunday.
Right, because you even look at the Raiders when he missed those 2, probably didn't even need that to engineer that game-winning drive had he made those 2. That's 6 points left off the board right there. So yeah, definitely. And then you look at the special teams. You can't give up big plays to, a return or something like that. And hopefully Boswell's on key, and it comes down to it would be nice to see a game-winning field goal in this game.
And last week, all around the country, the wind was so extreme. You saw special teams play a huge factor. That Bengals Patriots game alone, was there 4 missed kicks? I mean, there were so many games that were impacted because of the extreme wind as well. So you hope that's not as big a factor for both these guys, but especially Boswell bouncing back. You're fortunate to get coming with that game against the Raiders, where you still come out with the wins.
Well, luckily the temperatures will be a little bit more favorable for everybody that will be attending the game coming up on Sunday night. Should be a good one. Well, for Ken Urbanski and Mike Fenner, I'm Jay Pushkar. Thanks for tuning in. Have a happy New Year, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.